The manhunt for the driver of the Barcelona van attack, which killed 13 people and injured dozens more, has been extended across Europe. Officials in Spain have revealed this morning. 22-year-old Moroccan national Younes Abu Yaqub has still not been found. It's feared he may have fled the country and slipped across the border into France. He was among 12 Islamic extremists that Spanish police say had been planning attacks for around 6 months. Meanwhile, the Spanish newspaper El País has released stills from CCTV showing what is believed to be Abu Yaqub fleeing the scene on foot following the attack in Barcelona's Las Ramblas. Police say they are investigating the possibility that 90 minutes later the suspect stabbed and killed a Spanish man and stole his car. Yesterday, it was revealed that a 7-year-old British-Australian boy, Julian Cadman, was among the 14 victims that died during the attacks in Barcelona and in the seaside resort of Cambrils. Well, we can speak now to Dr. Shiraz Maher, who is an expert on radicalization from King's College London, and we're also joined by Will Geddes, who is an expert on counter-terrorism. Thank you both very much for coming in. Shiraz, first of all, the focus is now on a man who is an imam who was working in the town of Ripoll, where the attackers were based, Abdelbaki Es Satty. Tell us more about him. How much is known about him?
Well, we're learning a lot more about him at the moment. We know he's travelled up to Belgium and he's been involved in some networks up there as well, spent a bit of time there. He's also known to have had a number of radical connections down in Spain. He spent some time in prison as well, and it's believed at the moment that he had some connections to the individuals who carried out the 2004 Madrid bombing atrocity in the name of Al-Qaeda. So it does seem like he's someone who has a pattern of association with radical networks, and it's believed now that he was involved in the bomb-making factory where the explosion went off prematurely, killing the bomb makers.
So, I mean, looking back over what he's suspected to have been involved with, dating back to Madrid in 2004, was he on the radar? Was he under surveillance?
Well, he would have been on the radar at some point in time. Of course, the Madrid bombings happened in 2004. A lot of time has passed since then, so it's not clear whether he was a person of interest to the Spanish authorities or indeed to the Belgian or French authorities, but it does demonstrate as well the scale of the problem that Europe as a whole is facing right now. What ISIS has unleashed is this quite unprecedented wave of terrorist actors across the continent, which is overwhelming the number of agencies, both in this country and in the continent. So the challenge and the scale of what's facing us right now is huge.
Will Geddes, whenever something happens and we sort of look at what were the potential signposts, the people involved, ask whether they should have been under better surveillance, what are your thoughts now with this as more emerges about the characters potentially involved?
Well, the interesting part is obviously in the wake of any kind of incident is going to be gathering up the various morsels of intelligence and information about those that were connected, where they got their materials from, how they considered those. So, for example, the explosion in Alcanor, just before the attack in Las Ramblas, they are looking at the component parts. There were 120 butane canisters that had been amassed. There was also some TATP, which is their favoured explosive, incredibly fragile, as they found out for themselves. Explosive component, obviously, that's been used in Paris and Belgium before. So, and they also have managed to apprehend the bomb maker, Mohammed Kemlel, who will be a very valuable source of intelligence in terms of the levels of preparation and also the wider network potentially involved.
This is an attack that they believe was being planned for 6 months with a cell of 12. As you say, there was the explosion in the house, which is, it looks like it was the bomb factory. What do you think about the level of surveillance that there was and whether mistakes have been made?
Well, I think, again, we're going to see this time and time again. Because of the sheer number of suspects that have to be monitored, the problem is that people will drop off the priority list of the intelligence agencies because they only have a finite amount of resource to be able to monitor them. We look at Abdelbaki Es Satty, for example. Now, although he had cross-contamination, if you like, with one of the Madrid bombers 5 years ago when he got imprisoned for smuggling hashish into Spain from Morocco, He was also connected to Operation Jackal, which was an operation run by Spanish intelligence in Barcelona of those that were propagating radicalization materials. So he was very much on the peripherals, and we're seeing this time and time again, that it isn't necessarily the key priority targets, but it's those on the outskirts that are becoming or moving up the ranks.
And Shiraz, in terms of who is getting sucked in, those involved in this attack are all young. What does it say about the way radicalisation is happening, who's vulnerable and why?
Well, we do tend to find lots of young people being drawn to these causes. It's time and again what we've seen, people who are very young becoming involved in terrorist activity or travelling out to Syria and Iraq. One of the really interesting things to look at in the way that a group like ISIS has been able to communicate its message is that it's really understood millennials. It's understood and how to connect with them. These are people who are thinking in 140 characters, not in 140 pages. That's where Al-Qaeda has struggled. Al-Qaeda would release big, long books trying to outline its position, trying to recruit people to its cause. But what ISIS does is it produces a very binary, simplistic choice which appeals to emotion, which naturally resonates with young people who are looking for a panacea, who are looking for a quick fix, who are looking for a utopia, and ISIS is there to offer them that.
Shiraz and Will, thank you very much.